I am 70 years old this year, and if I am being honest, I do not enjoy being around people the way I used to. It is not because I hate anyone or because I have become cold. It is just that, with time, something inside me has changed. I have come to value peace more than noise. I have learned that silence can be a kind friend, and that not every connection needs to be kept. There is a kind of freedom that comes with age, and part of that freedom is the right to step away, to choose solitude over small talk, stillness over chaos. I know I am not the only one who feels this way. Maybe you have felt it too. That quiet pull to retreat, to protect your energy, to breathe a little deeper when you are alone. If so, then this message is for you. In this video, I'm going to share 10 honest reasons why I no longer like being around people as much as I used to. These are not theories or stories from someone else. They are my own truths, shaped by a life fully lived. 1. I've outgrown small talk. When I was younger, I didn't think twice about making conversation. I could talk to just about anyone, at work, at church, at the grocery store. It was easy, and sometimes it even felt necessary. You had to socialize to stay connected, to be part of the world. So I did. I went to the barbecues, the birthday parties, the community events. I shook hands, smiled at strangers, and answered the same polite questions over and over again. How have you been? How are the kids? Still keeping busy. But over time, something shifted. Those conversations started to feel empty, predictable. Like reading the same page in a book again and again, hoping it might say something different this time. Now, at 70, I've realized I don't have the patience or the interest for surface-level talk anymore. I don't want to talk about the weather unless it's tied to a memory. I don't want to talk about sports unless it leads to a story that makes me feel something. I'm not looking to impress or to be impressed. I just want honesty. I want real. If we're going to speak, let it be about something that matters. What keeps you up at night? What you've learned the hard way? What makes you grateful to still be here? I'm drawn to depth now. Not drama, not gossip, not noise, just meaning. It's not that I think small talk is wrong. I know it has its place. Some people need it to feel safe, to open up. But for me, I've simply outgrown it. My days feel shorter now, and my tolerance for pretending is even shorter. If the conversation doesn't feed my soul, I'd rather sit in silence. And the truth is, silence doesn't scare me anymore. In fact, I welcome it. There's a kind of companionship in shared quiet that no amount of talking can replace. My son once asked me why I don't call people more often. I told him, I've said most of what I needed to say in this life. Now I'm just listening. Not just to others, but to myself, to the wind, to the lessons I didn't hear clearly when I was too busy filling the air with words. So if you find yourself withdrawing from conversations that once felt easy, maybe it's not because you're rude or tired or old. Maybe it's because you've reached a point where only the real stuff matters, and that, my friend, is not something to feel ashamed of. That's something to respect. 2. I'm sensitive to energy now. There was a time when I could be in any room, any group, and blend right in. I didn't think too hard about how people made me feel. I just smiled, nodded, and moved along with the flow. But these days, I feel everything. I walk into a room and I can sense it almost instantly. The mood, the tension, the quiet sadness someone's hiding behind their eyes. It's not magic. It's just time. Time sharpens you. Time makes you more aware of what's real and what's not. And now I find myself more sensitive to people's energy than I ever was before. I've sat at tables where everyone was laughing, but the laughter didn't reach their eyes. I've been in conversations where every word was polite, but every tone was cold. I've stood in crowds that looked warm and welcoming on the outside, but deep down felt like a storm brewing. And I've learned that just because someone is smiling at you doesn't mean their heart is open. Just because people are talking doesn't mean they're listening. And just because a place is full doesn't mean it's full of kindness. I don't mean to sound harsh. I don't think most people are bad, but I do believe a lot of people are carrying pain they don't know how to deal with. So they project it onto others. They bring their anger, their insecurity, their competition into the room without realizing it. And at this age, I don't have the emotional space to take it on. I've got enough to carry on my own. So when I feel that shift in the air, that heaviness, that tension, that subtle judgment, I quietly step away. I used to push through those feelings. I used to tell myself to be polite, to stay longer, to be strong. But now I trust my gut. If something feels off, it probably is. And I've learned that protecting my peace is not selfish. It's survival. My time is too precious to spend it absorbing energy that weighs me down. I'd rather be alone with my own thoughts than surrounded by people who drain me without even knowing it. So if you've been avoiding certain gatherings or walking away from conversations that leave you tired, don't blame yourself. You're not becoming antisocial. You're becoming more attuned. You've lived long enough to know what feels right and what doesn't. And that inner voice you hear telling you to protect your peace, that's not weakness. That's wisdom. 3. I've been hurt before. I'm not proud of it, but I'll say it honestly. I've been hurt by people I trusted, and not just once. Over the years, it adds up. Friends who disappeared when things got tough. Relatives who said they'd be there, then vanished when I needed them most. People I welcomed into my life who later used me, lied to me, or turned their back without explanation. It happens slowly over time. And each time it does, something inside you changes. You become more cautious. Not bitter, just careful. When I was younger, I used to believe that everyone meant well. That if you were kind, others would be kind in return. I gave people the benefit of the doubt. I forgave quickly. I let things slide. But experience teaches you differently. You start to see patterns. You start to notice how some people only come around when they need something, how some smiles hide sharp words, how some compliments are just bait for manipulation. And after a while, you stop offering your heart so freely. It's not that I've built walls. I still care. I still love. But I've learned that boundaries are necessary, even with family, especially with family. I've had to say no to people I love, because saying yes was destroying me. I've had to walk away from relationships that no longer felt safe, and that hurts deeply. But staying in a place where you're constantly hurt, that hurts even more. These days, I keep my circle small, not because I don't like people, but because I value peace. I don't chase friendships. I let them unfold naturally. If someone shows up in my life with consistency, kindness, and respect, I make space for them. But if they bring chaos, manipulation, or constant disappointment, I let them go, not with anger, but with grace. Because at this age, I've learned that healing matters more than history, that who I choose to be around affects how I sleep at night. So if you find yourself distancing from people who once mattered to you, it doesn't always mean you've changed for the worse. Sometimes it means you've finally started honoring your worth. And after a lifetime of being hurt, that's a kind of healing no one else can do for you. Number 4. I value peace above all. I thought being around people was just part of living. You went where the action was. You filled your calendar, showed up, shook hands, smiled, laughed, even when you didn't feel like it. I thought that was what strong, successful people did. You didn't say no. You stayed social. You kept up. But somewhere along the way, I started noticing how drained I felt afterward. Not physically tired, emotionally tired. I would come home from a gathering, sit down in my chair, and feel like something inside me had been emptied out. And for the longest time, I thought there was something wrong with me. I'd ask myself, why don't I enjoy this anymore? Why do I feel better when I'm alone? Now, at 70, I finally understand. I'm no longer willing to trade my peace just to be present. I've lived through enough noise, enough arguments, enough meaningless chatter. I've learned that peace, real peace, is the most valuable thing I have. And I don't mean just quiet around me. I mean quiet within me. That steady, calm feeling when no one is pulling at you. When you can breathe all the way in. When you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. I no longer feel bad about saying no. I no longer force myself into rooms where I don't feel at ease. I don't need to be seen. I don't need to be included. What I need is peace. And if that means spending more time alone, I'm okay with that. Because peace isn't loneliness. Peace is presence. It's the ability to sit with yourself and feel safe. You learn with time that not everyone deserves access to you. Not every voice deserves to be in your ears. Some people bring chaos with them even without meaning to. And I've reached a point where I no longer want to manage that. I don't want to fix anyone. I don't want to be the listener in every room. I just want peace, quiet mornings, honest conversations, gentle moments. That's where I feel most alive now. 5. I'm an introvert, and I'm okay with that. Most of my life, I thought something was wrong with me. I wasn't shy. Exactly. But I didn't enjoy being the center of attention. I didn't thrive in big crowds. I would always find myself slipping away to a quiet corner, just to breathe. I thought I needed to change that. I thought maybe I wasn't social enough, or maybe I wasn't interesting. I'd watch other people walk into a room, light it up, talk to everyone like it was nothing. And I'd think, why can't I do that? Why does it wear me out? But now I know the answer. I'm an introvert. And there's nothing wrong with that. Introverts aren't antisocial. We're just wired differently. We feel deeply. We think before we speak. We listen more than we talk. And we recharge by being alone, not by being in a crowd. It took me decades to stop apologizing for that, to stop forcing myself into social situations that left me feeling numb. These days, I no longer fight it. I embrace it. I've realized that being an introvert is a gift. It helps me notice the little things, the way my granddaughter laughs when she's lost in a story, the quiet in the house when the sun's just come up, the stillness of a room where no one's trying to prove anything. I wouldn't trade that kind of awareness for all the popularity in the world. It's not that I don't like people. I do. I love my family. I enjoy a deep, meaningful talk with a friend. But I don't need noise. I don't crave attention. I don't need to be surrounded. What I need is space. To think, to feel, to rest. So if you've felt different, if you've spent your life wondering why social events drain you, I want to tell you something I wish I had known sooner. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're just built for quiet. You're built for reflection. You're built for depth. And that kind of person brings calm to a world that desperately needs it. 6. Time is too precious to waste. There comes a moment, somewhere around 60, maybe earlier, when time starts to feel different. It doesn't just pass, it counts. You begin to realize you don't have time for everything, so you have to choose carefully. You start asking, is this really how I want to spend my afternoon? Or, is this conversation worth my energy today? And slowly, without even noticing, your tolerance for nonsense drops to 0. At 70, my time is the most sacred thing I own. I've got less of it ahead of me than I've left behind, and I won't spend it in places that feel heavy or with people who don't see me. I won't sit through dinners where no one is listening, or phone calls that feel like obligation. I don't want to waste a single hour on empty talk, fake smiles, or relationships that take more than they give. It's not about being harsh. I'm not bitter. I'm just clear. My energy is not unlimited. My heart has only so much space, and at this stage in life, I'm more protective of both. That means I choose peace over performance, honesty over politeness, depth over popularity. I no longer feel guilty for not replying right away. I don't feel bad for leaving early or for saying, "No, thank you, not today." Because every time I say no to something that doesn't serve me, I'm saying yes to something that does. Sometimes that yes means sitting on the porch with a cup of tea. Sometimes it means reading a book for the third time. Sometimes it means just being still, not doing, not fixing, not explaining, just being. And you know what? That's enough. Number 7, I've learned to enjoy my own company. There was a time when I feared being alone. When I was younger, silence made me restless. If the house got too quiet, I'd turn on the television. If I had a free afternoon, I'd call someone, anyone, just to fill the space. I thought being alone meant something was wrong. Maybe I was boring. Maybe I didn't have enough friends. Maybe I wasn't living life the way I was supposed to. But now I see it differently. At 70, I've come to value my own company. Not in a prideful way, but in a peaceful way. I don't need a full room to feel full inside. I don't need a calendar packed with visits and dinners and phone calls to feel connected. I've learned how to sit with myself and actually enjoy it. No need for noise. No need for distraction. Just a chair, a warm drink, maybe a book, maybe not. Some days I just sit and listen to the wind or watch the light change through the window. And it fills me up more than most conversations ever could. It wasn't always like this. There were days when I felt lonely. Truly lonely. Even in a crowded room. That's a different kind of pain. But being alone now is something I choose, not something I suffer. There's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is when you feel disconnected, even when you're surrounded. Solitude is when you feel complete, even when no one else is around. I've worked hard to build that feeling, and I guard it now. When my kids call, I'm happy. When a neighbor drops by, I'm warm and welcoming. But when the house is quiet again, and it's just me and the day, I don't feel like anything's missing. That sense of calm I carry now, I earned it. I spent years giving my time to others. Now I give some of it back to myself. If you're just starting to feel this shift, that pull toward quiet, that comfort in your own company, don't push it away. Don't feel like you need to fill every silence or answer every text. Let yourself enjoy the peace you've earned. You've spent enough time showing up for everyone else. It's okay to finally show up for yourself. Number 8, I'm tired of pretending. There's something people don't tell you when you're young. You spend a lot of your early life pretending. Pretending to be okay when you're not. Pretending to agree just to keep the peace. Pretending to enjoy things you really don't, just to fit in. I did that for decades. I smiled when I didn't feel like smiling. I kept quiet when I had something to say. I went along with things that didn't sit right in my gut because I didn't want to rock the boat. I thought that was maturity. I thought that was strength. But as I've gotten older, I've started letting go of that mask, not all at once, but piece by piece. These days, I don't pretend much. If I'm tired, I rest. If I'm quiet, I stay quiet. If I'm not interested, I politely excuse myself. I don't lie to make people comfortable. I don't force myself into conversations that don't interest me. I've learned that honesty, gentle, respectful honesty, is not rude. It's real. And I've had enough of the fake. Sometimes people call it being grumpy or withdrawn. That's okay. Let them call it what they want. They don't know how many years I spent ignoring my own needs just to keep everyone else happy. They don't know how much energy it takes to wear a smile that doesn't come from the heart. I've learned that people will misunderstand you no matter what you do, so I might as well be true to myself. It's not about being rude. It's about being honest. And at this age, I don't have time for games. I don't have time to keep explaining myself or tiptoeing around other people's comfort. I just want to live simply, speak truthfully, and show up fully, not for the world, but for myself. 9. I see through people. Too quickly now. I didn't always see people clearly. I used to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. If someone said the right thing, I believed them. If they smiled, I took it as kindness. I looked at people and saw the best version of them, or at least the version they wanted me to see. But after 70 years of life, I've learned how to see past the surface. I can hear what's not being said. I can feel when someone's being fake, even if their words are polite. And once you see people that clearly, it's hard to unsee it. These days, it only takes a few minutes of conversation for me to know where someone's heart is. I notice the way they talk about others. I listen to the tone behind the words. I watch how they treat the quietest person in the room. I've seen enough of human nature to recognize patterns, and I don't ignore them anymore. This doesn't mean I'm judgmental. I don't think I'm better than anyone, but I've stopped pretending not to notice when something feels off. And when it does, I step away. I don't argue. I don't call it out. I just quietly protect my peace. Some folks carry heavy energy even if they don't mean to. Some people are drawn to conflict, to gossip, to drama. And at this point in my life, I want no part of it. I think when you've lived long enough, your heart becomes more sensitive to what's real. You stop wasting time on charm and start looking for character. You stop falling for what people say and start paying attention to how they live. And when you find people who are genuine, who are kind when no one's watching, who tell the truth even when it's hard, you hold on to them. But for the rest, I let them go. Not with anger, just with wisdom. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people I can't trust. Life's too short to pretend you don't see what's right in front of you, and I've stopped ignoring what my gut already knows. 10. I'm on a different frequency. Now, the older I get, the more I feel like I'm living on a different frequency than the rest of the world. Not higher, not better, just quieter, slower. More tuned in to things most people rush past. When I was younger, I kept up with everything. The news, the opinions, the pressure to always be doing something. I thought I had to keep pace or get left behind, but now I don't feel that pressure anymore. I've stepped out of the race. I've found a different rhythm. I no longer feel the need to explain myself. I no longer feel the need to fit into spaces where I don't feel at home. I know what peace feels like, and I know what steals it. And I've made the choice, over and over, to protect that peace. That choice often puts me at odds with the modern world, a world that thrives on constant updates, endless connection, and the loudest voices in the room. But I don't live in that world anymore. I live in the world where slow mornings matter, where eye contact means more than opinions, where listening is more powerful than arguing, where sitting with a cup of coffee and thinking about life feels more productive than chasing after things that don't last. I find joy in the stillness. I find meaning in the ordinary, and that makes me different from who I used to be, and from many people around me. I'm not lonely. I'm not disconnected. I'm just tuned in to something deeper now. I notice things. A quiet breeze, the way the light hits the floor in the late afternoon, the sound of my own breath when the house is completely still. I value moments over noise, truth over charm, purpose over popularity, and that shift in values naturally separates me from certain people. I'm okay with that. Sometimes I sit with folks my age, and I see the same shift in them. We don't talk as much, but we understand each other. We've all come through something, years, losses, lessons. And now we're more interested in meaning than momentum. We don't need more people. We need more peace. We don't chase attention. We chase clarity. If you're starting to feel that change, like the world is spinning too fast and your soul wants to slow down, trust that feeling. You're not broken. You're just on a different frequency now. And the people meant for you will meet you there, in the quiet, in the calm, in the place where nothing needs to be proven, just felt.